parks at the reef. And needless to say, I got a little excited. David did not, and we just kind of turned around and swam back. We were going to go across the reef into the open ocean, but we kind of changed our mind. Okay, my second story takes place up in Harbor Springs. At this time, when David and Brett both got into biking, I got into biking also, but not very well. And we'd gone up 119 to the legs in and turned around and came back. And some of you that bike that route know there's a groove in the road about halfway back, which we knew was there, but I managed to hit on the way back and went flying off my bike into the sand. I wasn't badly hurt, but my bike was. David very calmly said, well, Dad, I'll bike into Harbor Springs and get you some help. Meanwhile, I was starting to walk back with my bike, which was kind of going like that. And he was very calm about it. Turned out somebody came along with a pickup truck and picked me up in time, so I met up with him later. And then the last really major bike ride I took with David was probably on my 60th birthday, I think, where he insisted we take a long bike ride. And we did that. We went all the way up again to Legs In area and so forth, up some pretty steep hills. And he said, come on, Dad, you can do it. And he encouraged me to go along. So he was always somebody that encouraged me to do things I might not have done otherwise and caused me to spend some wonderful time with my son, David. I miss him very much. And now I'll call on Justin to come up if he would.
We all miss Dave very much. Dave was a friend, a co-worker, and a roommate, in that order in my life. I was extremely fortunate to have him, as we all were, in more in life, really, than have friends like that. So, I don't know, I guess I'm covering a lot of stuff. I was fortunate to share a lot of things in common. We enjoyed biking. We enjoyed music together. He got me back into heavy metal. I liked it when I was in high school. And when I first met him in about 99, he wanted me to go to a concert with him, and I was just, no, come on. And I must have said no half a dozen times, and he didn't give up. It was a fantastic time, and it changed my life. I went to so many concerts with him and so many other people after that. And so, I just want to thank everybody for coming here and celebrating Dave together, because he would love it. He wouldn't want anything else than us to be super happy thinking about him. So thank you.
So I thought about preparing something, and then I decided that I was just going to speak from the heart, especially considering these past few days have been really difficult. So to start, just to show you what a good guy this Dave was, he gave this to me for Father's Day. It's like a metal shirt. If you know the band Megadeth, it's a play on Megadeth. So Dave is, I'm speaking the present tense because he'll always be with us. He was my best friend, my brother, as was Brett, and he still is, and we're gonna lean into each other to keep together and to stay strong and to support each other and to try to fill the void where we won't be able to completely fill it, but at least we'll be able to lift each other up. He is inspiration to me. He was the single most influential.
Hi, my name is Joanne Bump, and I'm Dave's stepmother. Today, thanks, brother. Today, we can celebrate one of Dave's greatest qualities, and that is that he was a loving and compassionate dad to Colin and Cameron. stepmother, looking back at Dave in his late teens, I would have never guessed that he would grow into this fatherly role. The idea of him changing diapers was something that was revolting to him. But I marvel at how he was doing everything from changing diapers to helping them learn to ride a bike. He would go fishing with them and support their learning at parent-teacher conferences. Dave loved his kids, and he gave up many of his own dreams to make a better life for them. During one of his last birthdays that he spent with us in Naples, I asked, what would you like for a birthday gift? And he said that instead of something material, he would like to spend more time enjoying life's experiences. So I gave him the money instead, and he spent it on treating his family to a life experience. I can't remember what it was, but I think he took them to the Naples Zoo. That's what my guess was. Dave was wise while he was still in his 40s. He chose to create meaningful memories with his sons while they all still had time to enjoy them. In closing, Dave gave life to the saying that children enjoy your gifts at the moment, but cherish the time you spend with them forever. Dave was a great dad.
Write a speech and go through the whole thing today. So in the same vein, I'm just gonna talk through my heart a little bit. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the tons of people who passed. A couple of years who've been helping us and helping Aaron and everybody in many ways. And it means a lot. It's been a huge help. And a lot of it is just being there. There's a quote I heard the other day, I'm not going to remember it, but it isn't so much about what you say, and it's about you showing up. So seeing so many people today showing up, Dave would love it. Of course, you wouldn't want to worry. If you worried too much about him, he'd be worried about, how's the beer? Is the food any good? Are you having fun? He's always worried about everybody else. He was so filled with empathy, it was almost, I think, crippling to him sometimes, because he was always more worried about you. Even if you were being a dick to him, he still was worried about you. And he was a better brother than I could ever deserve. He was, growing up, he was so much more mature. He might have been from a different planet. When I was into G.I. Joes and crap like that, he was, listening to Black Flag and skateboarding at a mystical half pipe in another neighborhood. And how do you get over there? And just always showing me things. And I was the annoying little brother, of course, all the time, but he took it in stride, and he was always that rock. If there's ever family stuff or funerals, he'd keep me up to date. He was the shoulder to cry on that there's no pretense or anything. I could just cry on his shoulder as long as I needed to. And that's a rare thing to have. I miss him. That's all I got for now.
meal, he said, "Aunt Jill, I'd like to discuss something with you after lunch." I said, "Sure, David, I'd love to." Now, this was 40 years ago, so I don't remember the subject, but it was some political issue that he had heard about on TV and wanted more background. So I said, "Well, this is what I know at this point, David, but I'll do some more research and we can talk again." But David was always way ahead of his age group, and it was always so much fun to be around. And I am so glad when I go back to Virginia to know that his family will have the support of all these good friends. Thank you for being there for them. If I had an unlimited amount of time and millions of words, I'd still never have enough time or words to describe my wonderful, kind, empathetic, fun, with a great sense of humor, son, David Dilley. Growing up, he and his brother, Brett, loved books and wanted their favorites to be read every night, sometimes over and over every night at bedtime. And some of their favorites included Star Wars, Goodnight Moon, Drummer Huff, and The Incredible Invention. Just to tell you how many times you read it, you remember these things. Just to give you an idea of how important books were to Dave and Brett while they were in grade school, we went as a family to a pizza restaurant across from their favorite bookstore, Jacundry's in East Lansing. Their dad said to me before we left, "We're not going to go to Jacundry's bookstore," because we always spent a fortune when we went there. However, I planned to pick up a book there and told them that I would be back before the pizza arrived. But when the boys saw me enter Jacundry's across the street, they started jumping up and down and shouting, "Can we go to Jacundry's too?" And then their dad said he realized what could be better than a love of books. And so the boys went to Jacundry's. To them, it was like going to a toy store. Then all three followed me into the bookstore. As I observed David reading to his sons, Colin and Cameron, over the years, which he considered his two boys, the thing he's most proud of, often he read 12 to 14 books to them at bedtime until he limited the number of books to 5 or 6. Dave was so devoted to his boys and the boys to him, it was as if they were all connected at the hip. I will especially miss his infectious laugh and great sense of humor. Here are 3 Davidisms. Those are coined words for David or expressions. When he gets someone to call me on the phone, the first thing he'd say, "Is this my favorite, Mom?" And that was his first. And then he'd follow with, "This is your number 1 son." Well, he was my oldest. And then during the course of the conversation, if I asked him anything and he didn't want to share it, he'd say, "Oh, that's classified information." And he did call every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times. So I felt like I knew everything that was going on with the family. Above all, I would miss his beautiful smile and his weekly phone calls, keeping me abreast of the boys and their activities, school, sports, even sharing about their friends, play dates, and birthday parties and other activities. I will miss his trips to East Lansing with the boys so they could stay the day or the night or the weekend. We went to Impressions 5 Museum, a very hands-on museum, the park with lots of play equipment, children's theater at MSU, and we saw Charlotte's Web, and even ice cream at the MSU Dairy Store a few times. Or they went through the sprinkler outside my condo, played in my sunroom, or turned the guest room bed into an imaginary world like a fort or a playhouse. And in so doing, the dust balls under the bed disappeared. So I never had to clean under the bed. None of what I'm sharing is super important or earth-shattering. But it is these everyday or every week interactions which are no more than I took for granted and will sorely miss with Dave and my grandsons. I have one last story to share involving this quote. "That day is lost on which one has not laughed." It's a French proverb. And even in grief, you sometimes need to laugh. When my dad was in the hospital at 94 and in a coma at the end of his life, Dave and Brett came and sat on either side of his bed and reminisced about all the mischief and all the things they got away with Grandpa Romano. The boys had no idea that their grandpa could hear them, even if he couldn't speak or open his eyes. When I arrived at the hospital, a nurse pulled me aside and related what was happening with the boys and my dad. She said the boys were sharing stories with each other, cracking up laughing about things they did and that they got away with grandpa. She continued saying the whole time your dad was smiling with each story. She informed me that the last thing to go is your hearing. And for example, grandpa gave them BB guns and how Brett's gun went off and hit the neighbor's sliding glass door and broke the glass, and it was Sunday. Grandpa called to get a repairman to place the glass before I came to pick up the boys. Dad said, I don't care what it costs. Just do it before my daughter comes to pick up my grandson. My sister and I, of course, were not allowed to use guns. Okay, wait a minute. Then the boys were laughing and having a good old time. And like I said, they had no idea that their grandpa could hear and was smiling. Then after a while, it got quiet. Suddenly, David said, Grandpa, I love you. Gave him a kiss on the forehead. And Brett followed, and so did I. Within minutes, Dad passed. We were all just shocked. And I broke the silence and said, Dave, I think your grandpa needed to hear that before I could leave this world. I know Brett and Dave felt that too. Dave, I will always miss you, but these positive memories and more are like warm hugs from Dave. And will live in my heart forever. I'll always love you and keep your memory alive.
Yeah.
He was vulnerable. He was an incredible support to me. We talked every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Some of those conversations were just him, I think, working on his stand-up material. It took me a while to catch on. But he was good for a monologue. I own this shirt because of Dave. That's why I'm wearing it today. I have a pretty nice mountain bike because of him. I'm not even good at mountain biking. But he shared his passion with me, and it was contagious. He was a man of great passion. And you just wanted to be around him and do what it was that he was doing. And he took a genuine interest in me, and he supported me. And even in the whole mountain biking thing, you know, he walked me through and how to get a bike and all this stuff, and what I did and didn't need. He was there every part of the way until we got on the trail, and then he just left me in the dust. I finally caught up to him, and he was, I think, mildly annoyed that I was so far behind him. But man, we'd have a blast whenever we did that. I just love him. I've known him and Aaron maybe some 18, I don't know, years, a long time. And I'm just so thankful for the impact that your family has had on my life. He's a good man. And I love him, that's all I want to say.
That the person that you're describing and the way that he affected you is the person I am. You know, he affected me that way. And 32 years later, living a life, I live in Oregon, I communicated with Dave, but we lost touch, because we went across the country from each other. But I look through my life and I think about the values of friendships and the ways that people treat each other. And I think of all the times that I spent with Dave, and I always come back to that he had this ethical core that was, if he was your friend, he so genuinely cared about you that your comfort level was his most important thing. And so if he made a joke about you, he knew it was a joke you were comfortable with. If he learned you were not, you knew that he cared and he would correct it. You knew that he never wanted that joke to cut. And that seems small for me to bring up, but after 32 years of not being with him, I realized how few people in the world I've met since then that share that quality, and how much it affected me, and how much I wish I could have had Dave next to me for 32 more years. And so I thought it was important to honor him and his family and his children, his wife, by letting them know that the person that they met maybe afterwards or whatever was the person I met, and that he has always been that consistent, beautiful person. And I miss you. I love you. I wish you were here with us. And I'm so proud to be able to honor you and who you were, and acknowledge out loud to other people how much you affected me in a beautiful way. I love you.
We live down the street from the Dilleys, and my wife and I have two sons. The Dilleys had two sons. They went to Glencairn school together, and he's one of them. And these two guys were in Mrs. Rudman's kindergarten class, and I think there were 16 kids in that class and 13 boys. After that year, Mrs. Redmond retired. And smart lady, she had it up to here. And so that was just down the street. We lived down the street. We were like a block and a half from the Dilleys, on the same road, on the same street. And lots and lots of experiences. I was just telling Pam that, I don't know if it was you or Arthur or whatever, used to actually crawl up and over your garage and
Oh yeah, Dave had the porch up there.
I'm not sure what you guys did. But anyway.
That's classified.
Classified. As Dave would say, classified. So there were these four guys, and they were, our son Arthur was, I think, a year older than Dave, and then these guys are about the same age. Dan is, what, a year and a half, 2 years younger than Dave. And so they hung out, they were great friends. There's this huge, there's a park behind our house, and there's this huge pine tree. And I don't know, you and Art used to climb this thing. They'd be 50 feet up in the air, or 60. What the hell are you guys trying to do? Kill yourself? Yeah, you were. So Dave was continued to be a real strong part of our life. Brett, whenever he's in town, stops by, you know, and it was a great relationship.
We're like, this doesn't look that great, and it smells a lot worse. Pam's like, no, you have to eat it, thinking we're just being kids, being annoying and not eating, food on their plate. We're like, no, this is really bad. We're not going to eat this. And we had to come together and stave her off. And we're like, it kind of looks like the shape of a diaper too. It's some sort of fish. So she's like, well, fine, the cats will eat it. They'll like it. She puts it down on the floor for the cats. The cat comes over, runs out of the room. So the famous diaper fish incident has lived down in the family for a long time. And same thing with Christmas morning. There's the classic, you both come down in the morning. Dad's got the first camcorders that were out, and he's filming it, or so he thinks, and then you come down and he's like, shit, I'm not filming, I didn't record, you gotta go back up and do it again. The seventh time, you're like, you're done. But, he'd always back me up, and I think I always backed him up, I don't know, but I hope that I did, and everything. And a lot of instances like that where the two of us were kind of against the world. And one thing about Dave is he literally thought anything mechanical or electronic was witchcraft. He would tell you as much. So just about every bike ride with Dave, I'd be like, now Dave, did you check your bike? Did you lube the chain? Did you? Yeah, it's fine. Let's go. I got a window. We gotta go. We got 2 hours. Okay, all right. Something would break. And one time we were out road biking somewhere, I think it was up north or something, maybe around here, and he was biking along, you know, the cranks, the pedals attached to it, normally kind of like that, and one just died. And it's the saddest thing to see 2 cranks just hanging down, and that bike's not going anywhere. And you know, he's freaking out, but he knows I can fix things. He's like, well, what are we gonna look? No, that's just dead, Dave. That's just broken. I'm gonna ride back in the car. I'll come get you. And another famous incident of that is, you know, Dave Tunes Dilley is one of the many nicknames. You know, he's a big music head, and he, growing up, I always had these big Sony headphones, and he'd always break them. He'd always sit on them or break them somehow, and he'd come to me, he'd be like, come on, dude, you fix this? I'm like, yeah, okay, I'd fix it, and I'd super glue it back together, and rewire it, whatever I had to do, and he just kept doing it, and I'm like, Dave, I'm not fixing this thing again, you're on your own. He's like, oh. So he got Dad, and they go out in the garage, and they're on the table, and they're trying to glue this thing and fix it, and after a while, I hear him get really frustrated, yelling for me, I'm like, what the hell do you want? I go out there, and somehow they had managed, Dad still denies this today, they managed to glue themselves to the headphones and the headphones to the table. You're on your own. Somehow they got it. I don't really know how. But, you know, it was kind of annoying to, you know, have to fix all these things all the time, but I think that's, you know, what brothers are for, you gotta support each other. Another one, I'd always get some toy plastic gun that you can pull the trigger and make some noises or laser gun sounds or whatever. Without fail, I'd play for it for a minute, you know, right after I'd opened the package. And he'd be like, well, let me see that, dude. I'd give it to him, and it was broken. Give it back to me. So it's fun to remember those kind of times. I'm just filling time here. Does anybody want to come up and talk? Say anything, just feel free to come on up. But yeah.
People just randomly make their way into your life, and I just, by chance, had David enter my life. We moved here for a year. I did a year of training here back in 2013. We moved from Alaska. I get a call with a Michigan number, and I'm usually like, if I don't recognize it, I'm not answering it. But for whatever reason, I answer the phone, and once Dave gets a hold of you, you're not getting rid of him. And, you know, I'm just grateful he made his way into my life. And, you know, just a year and a half ago, we were going through some challenging times. And, you know, I think about how much he meant to me, being there as a rock. And, you know, it's funny, he came into our world as my financial advisor, and it evolved well beyond that in no time. And I swear he'd call me weekly, and I don't think we ever talked about finances, which was fine, because I really don't have a lot of interest in talking about those things. But him being that presence for us, and just checking on me, and the selflessness, and the caring, it's just meant a lot to us. And, you know, that's something I want to carry forward with me, how much he meant to us, and see if I could mean something like that to somebody else. And so, anyway, love you, Dave.
For the last couple months, well, the last couple years, just think about some story and then just kind of fall apart. And so it's impossible to try to put something together. But the thing I realized is that there was a wonderful thing, because whenever I thought about him, there wasn't any shortage of stories to think about, memories to go through, fun things to hear. And what's up, Dad? Okay.
I know it's kind of hard for some of you to come up here, but I'd like to call on a couple people that come from a long way for this event. And one of those is Nick Pullman, wherever he might be in the audience. I know he's got some really good stories about Dave. Nick, are you out there? There you go.
Nick's real shy though, but he'll try to overcome it for you guys.
He's lying. I sell software. BSing is one of the best things I do in life, actually. So Dave and I met when we were about 16. My family's got a place up in Harbor Springs as well, and Dave and Phil and I ran together for those last 3 summers of high school. And Dave got me into the Grateful Dead, if you can't tell from the ponytail. And took me to my first Metallica concert when we were 16, and I've been to 8 since then. So you really sparked something in me. It's been a blast. But Dave was one of those people that he could make the mundane so entertaining. Just absolutely could take just random mundane, nothing experiences and just make them funny and entertaining. And he was just I really like humor, and he was such a great part of my life because of that. When I was looking for someone to help manage money for my family a few years ago, I talked to Dave about it, and I ultimately decided not to go with him, and my rationale for it was, Dave, your friendship means too much to me. I couldn't let something happening there impact that. So I just couldn't bring myself to go that route just because I valued his friendship too much. The way we kept, I live in Texas, and the way we kept up over the last few years was, the memes and jokes going back and forth on text. Obviously, I'm sure I'm not unique in this room for that, but I would go sit in the parking lot waiting for my daughter's soccer games to start on Saturdays or Sundays, and I'd have 45 minutes to kill, and so I'd call him, and he would always answer, and we would sit and he would BS and we'd keep up. And I always had his humor in my life. Even when we didn't get to see each other. The last time I saw him was in 2018, actually, but even when I wasn't able to see him in person, his humor was always in my life and always made my life a little bit brighter and a little bit happier. And I'll close, when you lose people that are as special as Dave, there's so much sadness in the room. And obviously, we all have had a chunk taken out of us because he's not physically with us anymore. But with special people like Dave, I like to think about things of don't be sad that it's over, just be happy that it happened. And that's how I feel about it.
Beautiful celebration of David. I don't go back as far as the Charlotte Batteries do, but I'm close. I was David's 2nd grade teacher. And when Steve and Pam came to their first conference, we talked, and after they left, Pam, being in the neighborhood, came back. She says, I want to be your friend. And I said, I can't be your friend now that I have your child. You'll have to wait. Well, Brett came after. When Brett finished, now can I be your friend? So it's been a friendship since Brett finished 2nd grade, and I have been around the Dilleys for over 40 years. My favorite memory, well, it's ongoing of David, was David Dilley. I just like the name, David Dilley. And Aaron, I have to say this to you. I'm happily divorced. And as you meet people and go through the process of being happily divorced, you have friends. And they say, well, who did you go to this event with? David Dilley. David's in Michigan. I'm retired now in Mississippi. So the name that I always pulled out of the hat was that of David Dilley. So that's one of my fondest memories. Coming back to the area after David married, I came twice to meet his family. I met the boys. Aaron was out on work, but he prepared this wonderful salmon dinner. And I was like, oh my goodness. He was so proud of it, and I was so proud of him because I'm not one that enjoys cooking either. But he labored over this wonderful grilled salmon. The boys and I and his mom enjoyed it out in the backyard, and I really, really cherish that memory. I did get a chance to come and see him when he was no longer at his home, and I cherish that time with him also. So Steve, you put me on the spot. I cherish the Dilley family, and thank you so much for inviting me to this occasion.
Specific memories, but I will share kind of one of the things that when he was in the hospital, and this was probably maybe a week or two after everything happened in March 2 years ago. But I was there with Dan and Brett and Steve, and you could tell Dave was not really comprehending exactly what was going on, but knew that things were there was a lot of trouble, and he said to Steve, thank you so much for letting me do it on my own. And I kind of realized in that moment how kind of proud he was of his path in life, and kind of how much value he put in that, and how much he enjoyed his kind of career and kind of just the success that he had and his family and everything. So I think Dave always was.
I don't want to say thanks to Phil, actually, because he was the on-call doctor when all this crazy brain surgery stuff, and we're trying, what the hell is this? And what does this mean? And what do you think about this? And panicking, and Phil is always right there texting back or picking up the phone, so I appreciate that, Phil. I appreciate you coming down.
I'm not going to give you a lot of details about where we met and how we met, what we were doing at that time, but we hit it off right away. A lot. So since then, really, it's been really cool. I was living in Grand Rapids, and this was pre-kids, obviously. And I ran into Aaron and Dave. I was working in a restaurant downtown, and they were like, "Oh, cool, we're in GR." I was like, "Sweet." So we started hanging out, and then they moved out to Holland, and I had a kid, my son Oliver, over there, and and then it was like one of those things where you have a kid and other people don't have kids and they don't really hang around as much for a minute, until they have kids, and then you kind of reunite, and it's been a really cool thing because through that we raised our kids together. Dave has been like a father to Oliver. He always felt inclined to provide that strong, nurturing presence for Oliver. I'm not good at preparing speeches, but having talked to everybody I know, one thing we talked about was that Dave liked to talk. So, and I was always a texter. I'd be like, "Dave, just text me. And he's like, no, let's have a phone call. And he'd call me over and over again. Well, I started through this in the planning process, I started going through my text messages, and I just want to highlight some of the things that Dave texted to me over the course of the years. So one of them was, "Thought you might want to talk about what you signed for," he's my financial advisor. "Available after my 10 a.m. meeting." And of course I'm like, "Just got done working till 6, can't talk, sorry." Which, when I would talk to Dave, when he'd call me, he liked to tell stories and I love to hear them, but it'd be during my work hours, so, I joke, which I know it sounds jerky because I did set aside time, he was my friend, but when he wanted to talk business, I'm like, "Dave, whatever, Dave, I'll sign the paperwork." So I'd have my phone sitting there and he'd be talking about stuff and, trying to explain things to me, and I'm just like, my brain can't. "Dave, I love you." But just some of the random texts because I did enjoy the text messages that he did send. So just a few of them. "Heard ABBA on NPR this morning and thought about you." Just out of nowhere, I'm like, "Okay, love you, Dave." "If you aren't on your way to Mexico, give me a call." I don't know, I wasn't on my way to Mexico. "Roger that, I have also kidnapped Kendall Jackson per your instructions." My favorite one. "It's on like Donkey Kong, filling up my water pack, etc. I think Aaron threw away my favorite sweatpants." So a lot of good random texts like that, but I do want to highlight that, as much as Dave brought so much laughter and a lot of laughter in my life, This is one, this is after we had a house fire. And he said, checking in on Catherine. And I said, I'm home safe resting, thanks Dave. He said, if I was there, I'd put a little blanket over you. And that was Dave. That really highlighted that, you know, he was a good fun time, but he was there for you at your worst, and he was ready to pick you back up. And I invite you guys to, before I cry again, let's cheers to Dave. We love you, Dave. We miss you. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Cheers.
I feel like at that point in my life, you kind of get in a routine, and you lose some of your, you know, ability to have fun. It seems like you take this role as a dad, and you know, going out less, doing more adult things, and more of a kid-focused lifestyle. But I feel like Dave really like pulled me out of that. Not like making me like not pay attention to my kids, but just to have fun again, you know, and not be so boring. You know, he like made me a less boring person. And like many of you said, he had a way of just kind of like pulling you out of your comfort zone, and you know, made me put skis on when I haven't put skis on in 20 years, and you know, got me back into listening to pulling old records out that I haven't listened to in 20 years, and you know, cooking and a lot of the fun things that he did. But I feel like you could tell that he was just like a good guy deep down. And one of those things that, you know, this last year has been pretty rough, but just visiting him in the hospital, I was just so blown away that all his memories and everything that he talked about, at least for me, there was never any negativity, there was never any, you know, it seems like if you're in that state, for me, I think I would be saying a bunch of really weird stuff, but he just always talked about the good times he had, the good concerts, his friends and his family, and he just was like a really good dude all the way around, you know, and at the core of his being. I feel like he made me want to reach out to people more, reach out to people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And just because he had that ability, and not even through, like, I feel like a lot of us now are like on social media, or where, you know, we communicate, and like Kate was saying, through text. But the beauty of a phone call, the beauty to call somebody and talk to them and have that human connection, I feel like it's missing with a lot of people right now. And I feel like he kind of brought that back, and I don't know. It's hard for me that he's gone. It's still kind of hard for me to think about and wrap my mind around, just because it was so fast. But I miss him, and I feel like he changed me as a person, really. I think that you know, everyone leaves the mark, but he left a good mark for me. But that's all I got.
One thing after you.
Invite up to Mackinac City, and this is a very early road biking experience for me, particularly, and David. On the way back, we got a flat tire. David was able to fix the flat tire, but we didn't have a pump. And we were still about 15 miles from Harbor Springs, trying to get by on a bike with only 40 pounds of pressure in the tire. And if you do road biking, you know that's not near enough. But David hung in there, and he did a little bit of grumbling, I think. But that was another biking experience, and sharing time with David. I can't remember if Brett was on that ride or not. He probably was. But we learned after that you need to take a pump along with you in case something happens. Dan?
All right, I'm taking a risk here, but it's Dave, so this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment, so I'm just going to go with my heart. I mentioned earlier that Dave got me into cycling, and he was always very passionate about his interests, and one of those interests was cycling. He was even pro for a minute, but he wasn't willing to dope, so he was just like, why are all these guys faster than me? Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to shoot shit in my veins. So I respect him for that. But the reason I'm up here is because I'm going to be audacious enough to bring Dave into this room. I have a number of voicemails that I've been saving from Dave because I haven't been able to let go of them, and I've saved them, and they're like a way I keep him with me. And so this voicemail I'm about to play for you over the microphone is the quintessence of Dave Dilley. So please listen, and there's no follow-up story after this. I can just tell you he really wanted Brett, Dave, and I to do a race in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan called Oar to Shore. And that is the premise of this message. Hopefully you can hear it. Can you hear it?
David Dilley calling. I wanted to leave you an important voicemail. The important voicemail is as such. I think next year you and I and perhaps Brett are going to ride in the Oar to Shore mountain bike race in the Upper Peninsula. And I don't know if that blows up your road bike schedule, but frankly I don't care, but I think that's what we're going to do. Feel free to look up the race on the internet, but you guys I know are doing it this year, and I almost did it this year. It gets of all the nice trails in Marquette, along with some like fire roads and stuff, and it just sounds fun. So anyway, just wanted to leave that message with you while I was thinking about it, or the thought escaped me. So start spinning your wheels on it. Talk to you soon.
Dave Dilley, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Dilley.
On behalf of Aaron and all the family, I'd like to thank you all for coming. And Dave Shields is going to give us a closing prayer.
Lord, we thank you for your presence here. Thank you that you gave us your Holy Spirit, the Comforter, your abiding presence. We thank you for David Thatcher Dilley. Thank you for your grace as we walk through this tragedy. Thank you for your angels that minister to us, that we would mourn well and grieve our loss and celebrate Dave's life. And we live our lives taking a page from his book with zeal and passion and joy and a genuine interest and curiosity about the people and the world around us. Thank you for your wisdom, Lord, how to get through this. Thank you for your peace that passes all understanding. As we walk through one of the mysteries of life. In the words of David Dilley, let the good times roll. Amen.